I want to start off this video by thanking you for 2,000 subscribers here on YouTube. I had never planned on that or expected it, but I'm very happy and very gracious that it's here. As a sort of 2,000 subscriber special, I'm doing a week-long series on 1911s. I got an idea about this from Carl over at KGB Customs, who recently did a week of custom guns and showed them here on YouTube. This is not going to be quite to the same detail as what he did, because I've already covered quite a few of these guns in detail here on the channel before, but it's going to be a 4 or 5 minute long video in which I go over the 1911 that I have in front of me, why I've got it, and what work has been done to it. So starting off this special, we're doing it with probably the worst gun in the house right now, and that is this Kimber Custom II chambered in 45 ACP. Kimber has a reputation for poor quality control, guns that rust uncontrollably, and then just generally poor reliability. They built their name up in the 80s and 90s because they supplied rifles and pistols to various higher level law enforcement agencies here in the United States, but by the late 90s and early 2000s, a lot of that reputation turned into negative reputation because the guns didn't work. My buddy Logan and I have always wanted to work on a Kimber gun to try to make it a good 1911. This one here is a California compliant Custom II. What that means is just that the gun is on the California roster. For those outside the US or those that don't know, with how California's gun laws work, guns have to be put onto a safety approved roster to go up for sale in California, generally speaking. And Kimber has a separate sub-series of guns that are their California compliant ones. And the unique thing there is a lot of these guns are actually ones that are not really part of their standard production or their regular models of guns. If you were to go for a regular Custom II that wasn't California compliant, a lot of those guns are two-tone, and obviously this one's not, right? So what is the Custom II? Well, simply put, it's a full-size 5-inch 45 ACP. This one here is all steel, and it's really quite strange. These guns ship with a safety called the Swartz safety. The way that works, and we can verify an empty gun here, well, the 1911, normally when you depress the grip safety far enough, you're able to start pulling the trigger, and then boom, you can fire the gun, right? You have to make sure that the thumb safety is off too, so thumb safety off, pushing the grip safety far enough, you can press the trigger, right? The way the Swartz safety works is that on top of these two safeties here, you have to depress the grip safety far enough in to have a arm go into the slide and move a firing pin safety plunger out of the way. The issue with that Swartz safety is that you can actually depress the grip safety here far enough to fire the gun, but not far enough to allow the slide safety to come out of the way and have the firing pin travel. This has led to, at least from what I've heard, this has led to a couple of officer deaths for cops that were issued Kimbers that had that safety. So when we first got the gun, that was the first thing we yanked out of the pistol. I'll link it down below, but the gunsmith Ned Christensen has spent time getting those Swartz safeties to work. But for me as an enthusiast who won't be carrying this gun, plus I've already got 2 safeties here, plus I've replaced the firing pin with a titanium one, we removed the Swartz safety. The other big issue with this pistol, as we first got it, is that it came with a plastic mainspring housing. Now, if you're not a big 1911 person, you might go, well, what's the issue here? It's plastic. The plastic is brittle. It's under a lot of spring tension because of the components, like the mainspring here inside the mainspring housing. You want to have metal, preferably steel, maybe aluminum if the frame's aluminum, but we want steel. So I have an EGW checkered arch mainspring housing here. The third big issue with this gun when we got it is that our plunger tube here was not fully flat against the frame and then staked on, which meant that it could come off, and if that comes off, the gun doesn't work. So this gun had those 3 major issues of the safety, which ours was able to have that issue where it wouldn't fully deactivate, the mainspring housing, and then the plunger tube. We have since fixed those. For modifications to the gun, we had to remove the rear sight to get part of the Swartz safety out of the gun. We filed a little bit on the rear sight dovetail piece, so not on the gun, but on the rear sight itself, because the fit was so tight because they hydraulically pressed these into the slide. So still has a set screw and it's still very tight, but now we can remove it with a sight pusher and not requiring a press. We have Harriet stocks on here, which are nicer than the rubber grips that came on the gun. Of course, that arched mainspring housing, some grip tape here on the front of the gun, and then it hasn't come in yet, but I have a GI-style recoil assembly coming in, and an EGW beefier tighter fit bushing, because as it currently is, this bushing is just loose on the barrel, and it's, you know, it's good to have it in some ways, but for us, we want this gun to be a little bit tighter because we know how to make that work. The impressive thing with this Kimber here is that aside from the major issues, which are deal breakers, like I would not recommend this one buys one of these if you knew it had those issues, the gun just feels really good. The slide serrations are nice and aggressive. The barrel has good fitment to the slide itself. There are a lot of MIM parts on here, but they're actually finished in such a way that there's not a whole lot of sharp edges on the gun. The slide to frame fit is quite good, which again, not necessary, but it's not bad. And then with some slight tuning of the sear spring, and again, verify gun's empty, we have a nice 4.5 pound trigger pull here. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. But it's a fun little project gun. Full disclosure, I didn't buy this pistol. I actually traded into it, which is why I was more comfortable to get the gun to have as a project piece, right? Retail on this California compliant model is like $1,100, which I wouldn't have bought this gun if it was $500, right? But I traded the revolver I wasn't using for this pistol, and the person I traded with wanted the revolver. He liked what I had, and we did the trade. So this has been a fun little project gun so far. Now, this is not meant to be a full, all-encompassing video on this gun, of course. This is part of, one part of a 7-part series, but you'll be seeing more of this gun here on the channel as we continue to work on it. It probably won't be with me forever, but it's a fun project to try to de-Kimber a Kimber, to try to make it a better 1911 as a practical pistol, as a fun pistol, whatever it might be, but the important thing is to keep it safe and to keep it reliable and relatively accurate. I don't need this thing to be, punching 2-inch groups at 50 yards, but I would like it to be more accurate than how it is currently with that barrel bushing. So, yeah, thank you for tuning in. Again, thank you for 2,000 subscribers, and look out tomorrow for the next 1911 video.